white boy!
What's up, everybody? How are you doing? This is my Edric Spymaster of Trest deck. I really do think that this is one of the most consistent and powerful decks that you can build for this price point, and it's super easy to upgrade with, Force of Will, fast mana, and everything. It's a good deck for beginners and advanced players, and I'm going to make the more expensive version next, so subscribe if you want to see that. But I'm going to get right into it. So Edric is a Simic commander, and he has, whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. So it makes it so your opponents aren't incentivized to attack you, or in fact are very incentivized to attack your opponents. Your creatures will draw cards when they deal combat damage to an opponent. So we'll go over the creatures in a sec, but you essentially play a bunch of 1-mana guys that do small thing and mana dorks, and that's pretty much what you play. So we'll go over that because it's most of the deck. And the other stuff is quite simple. So we're going to start the sorceries. All runs Epiphany, Beacon of Tomorrows, Karn's Temporal Sundering, Part the Water Veil, Walk the Aeons, a bunch of extra turns. You have Harvest Season. I love this card at this for a fucking $1. In this deck, you're ramping with like 3, lands, like, on average, that's a good fucking rate. And God forbid you get it like while you're taking extra turns, dude, you'll put like 19 lands into play. But yeah, that's essentially what you're doing, is you're trying to rip through your deck and get to the extra turn spells. You probably, honestly, dude, if you're gonna copy this deck, take out Preposterous Proportions and Overrun. You do not need them. You do not need them. Take them out. Maybe I would put in some extra counter spells, or maybe you have some of the extra turn spells already that aren't in this list or something. I just play something better. Play. You don't need it. I put them in there for fun, but it turns out that when you draw fucking 10 cards a turn, that you can win with Lab Man and a bunch of other crap, and we'll get on to what else you win with in a second. But other than that, yeah, it's just that. We got Regrowth. I think Regrowth is a good card because it essentially becomes another extra turn spell, although a lot in the budget version of the list exile themselves. It does not with Walk the Aeons, and I think that's it. Walk the Aeons, you can get it back. Yeah. Solve the Equation as a tutor for... You can get interaction, or you can get an extra turn spell, so it's quite nice in that regard. It's not really, like, that much worse than Demonic Tutor in this deck, because that's most of your good cards. And then instants, we have some cheap counter spells. They're very efficient. Abjure. At that point for Abjure, Flare of Denial is like the same price. I just realized that. Hold up. Is Flare of Denial the same price as Abjure? 51. Well, I guess that puts the deck over $50. Fuck. But yeah, you play you can play Flare Denial, or obviously you can play Abjure. But I'll call it it's clickbait video now. But you have Foil, that's free counterspell. Flare Denial is fucking free counterspell. Or you could play Abjure and your deck is below $50. That's up to you. An offer you can't refuse is 1 blue for a counterspell. Obviously it has to be non-creature. But that's most of the things you're scared of with this deck, is board wipes and otherwise. Commandeer is a great fucking card. This is a good fucking card, and you will have cards to pitch this. I promise you will. Mana Leak, just more counter spells. Nature's Claim, destroy an artifact or enchantment that's really fucking up our vibe. Negates, negate, refute. It's just kind of another counter spell. I wanted to at least have this many. And Unified Will is usually always just counterspell, but obviously worse than counterspell. Artifacts, I didn't really need too many artifacts in the deck. We just Arcane Signet, Talisman, Spellbook. No Soul Ring in this deck, actually. So I think we don't want Soul Ring because we just have so much colored mana that we have to spend that it doesn't really even help us in the early game or otherwise. You can call me crazy if you want. It helps recast your commander if he dies. But Yeah, no Soul Ring. Yeah, you can call me trying to be quirky, but I didn't put one in this deck. And then enchantments, we got Beastmaster's Ascension. This is why you don't need Overrun, because Edric's ability is a May, so you won't deck yourself, and you're gonna take extra turns anyway. Especially if you just have Beacon of Tomorrows in your deck, then Beastmaster's Ascension will make your creatures big enough to kill anything, and it's 3 fucking mana. Like it, this card takes over very fucking fast. Druid's Repository is the goatest card that has ever existed for a deck than Druid's Repository in this deck. It creates absurd amounts of mana. You usually play it for free, and then you get the mana back the turn you play it. Like, if not, it makes mana. So it's like a ritual that makes a bunch of colored mana, and it just sticks around. Like when you have this and you're like successfully like popping off, it's you very far and few between will ever get to spend all of your mana. You essentially functionally have infinite mana. You'll just cast your hand. That like it'll be to the point where you just don't keep track. On the trail, you could replace this with Up the Beanstalk. You really could. But I don't know. It's mediocre at best. Teferi's Veil is pretty cool because it dodges a lot of sorcery speed board wipes, Toxic Deluge, Damnation. Most of them are sorcery speed. So it's a nice little trick. I like this card. I think it's worth playing for the fun factor too. It just is a card you never see ever. And I like putting those in decks that they work. That's kind of what I like to do a lot. So whenever a creature you control attacks, it phases out. So saves it from removal. All that kind of shit. It's a good card. It surprises me. Sometimes it saves your ass, man. It really does. Against good decks too. Really good decks. Because dodge the farewell. A lot of stuff is your creatures will phase out. Downside is you have to attack with Edric, but at that point you can just cast them again most of the time. So it's a good card. Utopia Sprawl, Wild Growth. They sort of, just make mana. There's a mana dork that doesn't die to removal or board wipe. Pretty good. Other than that, land-based Forest Island. Nothing crazy. But yeah, I guess we can get right into a playtest and show you how it goes. I can just sort of go until I win. All right, so I'm going to do some test hands now. And this is a pretty good one to start off on. And yeah, we're pretty much just going to do that. We're going to pretend like we don't have opponents and just sort of show you what the deck can do. So we'll draw Forest, Arbor Elf. This is a nutty fucking hand. And we'll go to our next turn. We can... Fuck, how do you do this the most efficient way? You always play the island. And then you go, boom. Fuck, dude. How do you do this? Is there a right way to do this? Do I have to tap the forest itself? And then a Wild Growth hit. And then I untap the forest. And then I get green, green, blue. Am I crazy? I feel like I'm missing something. Do I have to cast this? But I wanted 2 blue anyway. Is that my predicament? I want 2 blue. Is there a way to get 2 blue out of this equation? No. Well, I could Talisman. But I want 3 mana then. So I'm asking for shit that doesn't exist. Because I can Forest. Then I only get 1 blue anyway. So you do play the island. And then do it like this. So then we get this for 2. Then I get Talisman. And then I can tap Talisman in this for Colorless and Looter Ilkor. And then, yeah. Go to our next turn. Player Commander. Because we're him. And then go to combat. Looter Ilkor attacks. He loots. Yeah. He can't be blocked and he loots. So we'll draw from Edric, and then we'll loot from our looter. Who would have thought? I'll discard one of these lands. I haven't played one this turn. and play my land for turn. Untap this forest. You could argue you want to keep open an offer you can't refuse. I'll let that be up to your jurisdiction, but I'm going to just play the Pixie. Hopefully there's nothing I'm scared of on turn 3 that needed to be countered. So if they hit me with that shit on turn 3, whatever. We're 2 mana ramped, kind of 4. So, or yeah, kind of 3 or 4, I don't know. And that, you know, so I want the blue really bad. I think it's fine. I think we need another creature too. But, you know, hopefully Edric would have lived in your game. Go our next turn. We really need extra turns and shit. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Untap. 5, 6, 7. 5, 6. Am I crazy? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 manas. Huh. So I will play the Mystic. I am going to do this. Use one of my blue for the Mystic. Move to combat. And let's say the person with flying and this person attack. And we'll draw, and then looter trigger. I'll ditch the pilferer. Maybe the robber. But oh yeah, we get another fairy. Or we get our first fairy from drawing our second card this turn. So what do I want to discard? Pilfer costs more mana. But at the same time, it could draw a card. I mean, discarding... Well, we don't really want to discard a card. We kind of want to make sure we get it, our hits in. So we can cast the Artificer. Oh. Yeah, we don't have the blue. You could... Yeah, this is another opportunity where you could be like, oh, you needed to cast the... Hold open the offer instead of the assistant. And I'll say, alright. Even though we're not playing really against an opponent, I'll say we had to offer something. Instead of just always playing our shit. Then we'll go to our... Oh, I didn't even play my land for turn. Because that's my turn 4. And then... Damn, we need some more islands. And then we can go to our next turn. This is turn 5. I'll ask and thou shalt receive on the island. Then move to combat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And then our looter trigger. I'll discard this mystic. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 mana to work with. That attacked. I have 9 mana, so that's a good thing. Yeah. So I can 1, 2, cast my Arcane Signet. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll cast Allrun's Epiphany. Take our first extra turn. It exiles itself. And then with my 1 blue, you could say that was a colorless anywhere. There's 5 fucking colorless. Sue me. Artificer's Assistant. And whenever I cast a historic spell, I scry 1. So this is pretty much looking like a good old GG. Good old fashioned GG, I think. Oh yeah, I forgot my other fairy too. Here's my second fairy. It's a pretty good card. But now I will move to combat first and foremost every time and attack with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creatures. So I'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then my looter Ilkor trigger. Discard the forest. I drew my second card this turn. I'll add a fairy to the battlefield. And then I have 1, 2. Oh yeah, that is Delve. So I will exile all. Yeah. I will exile all these. So 4. So this costs 7 mana. I don't know why it took me so long. So it cost me 7 and 4 of it's colorless. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, blue, blue, blue. And we cast it. So we have another turn after this. Now, what do we do with the rest of our mana? We can cast a 1, 2, 3 Harvest Season. So now we get search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of tapped creatures you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Holy fucking hell, that's a good fucking turn. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures that are tapped. View library. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to do islands specifically. 1, 2, 3. You could argue that you want to do all islands because you play Beacon of Tomorrows, which has buyback, sacrifice 3 islands. So you could, in theory, get all islands and it wouldn't matter. You probably should have did that, but I'm done. I'm here now, so I don't really give a fuck. The end are tapped, by the way, and I was tapped out. So with that being said, my turn is done. I must discard a hand size, and I'll just do 1, 2, 3. The end. Go to my next turn. I don't know how many. This isn't turn 7. I think this is turn 5 still. Yeah, this is turn 5. I'm on turn 7. My opponents are not. Don't forget that. But I'll move to combat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures attack. So I will draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then my Looter Ilkor will trigger, draw, and I'll discard a card. And now I have a shitload of fucking mana, and I can cast Beacon of Tomorrows and Karns. This is pretty much where I'd call GG, because just think about it this way. I will get another fairy also. Before I forget. Play my land for turn, even though I can't do that. Well, yeah, I can. I'm in my second main phase. Fuck you. I can do that. I'm not in combat anymore. And then, at this point, what do? I have 1, 2, 3, holy crap, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 mana. So I have 18 mana. I can cast Beacon of Tomorrows, shuffle it in my library, cast Karn's Temporal Sundering. I could also technically order this to where I cast Beacon of Tomorrows, I shuffle my library, I have 10 mana left, I Frantic Search, and now I can 1, 2, oh fuck, Druid's Repository, and then discard 2, and now I cast Karn's Temporal Sundering. I take 2 fucking turns now. I have 2 extra turns loaded. In the chamber, I have 2 mana left. I cast Cloud of Fairies. Cloud of Fairies costs 0. And then I can cast Hope of Garopper and Fairy Seer, scrying me 2. You just not extra turn spells, so put them bitches at the bottom. And I'm out of mana. Now I get to draw shit even more cards next turn, and then I'll have another turn. So I have 52 cards in my library. Let's just say I draw next turn. I'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'll draw, and then I'll get another fairy. So I'll draw 23 cards. 23 out of 52. And then I'll draw 2 for turn, so 25. And then I'll draw 2 from attacking twice with my Looter Ilkor. So I'm at 27 draws. It's over half my deck. So I'll draw half of my deck between 2 turns. Plus whatever fucking thing I play this turn. Because I can play all the creatures in my deck. So any creature I draw. So we'll just go to the next turn and do this fucking nightmare. So I'll play Druid's Repository. I'm not keeping track of my mana anymore. fuck you, because I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, as you look at that, I got another turn. And then I also get fucking 11 mana that I can spend whenever I want, however I see fit. And then I can take 5 of those counters, cast Part the Water Veil. So I have 2 more turns to do this again. And then just off that 11, I have 5 mana left. I have 3 mana left. I have 2 mana left. I have 0 mana left. And now from my repository, I cast Slither Blade, Mausoleum Wanderer for another blue, Shoreline Looter for 1 and a blue. Fucking, I just play this Finhorn Elves for fun, for when I draw Tetsuko. Anyone has any fucking problem with it, I have Unified Will and all this other garbage in my hand. I win. I won the game. So that's essentially how that goes. So now we just draw until we get Labman or Beastmaster's Ascension, and then whichever one you want to win with, whichever one you think is cooler, you win that way. Although technically speaking, it's probably better to try to win with Beastmaster's Ascension, because then your deck's not gone and shit like that. So, you know, nonsense can mess with you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The deck's pretty easy to pilot. It's pretty straightforward and super good. A lot better than you'd think, maybe. Obviously, interaction is not something you love. Your commander's very, very important to the deck. But I think you make enough mana and just sort of have enough counterspells to not let the game go to total shit. And 3 opponents, someone will do something about someone, hopefully, if they're going to win, and you can kind of sneak it through and things like that. But it's a very fun deck. This is one of the first decks I ever made. That was like really, this is my first deck that I made that was really good. I played this in like 2017, 18, I think. A long fucking time ago. And the deck's gotten a lot better, and obviously I'm in the financial spot to buy a bunch of cards, so I'll put the expensive one together in real life and show it. I think that's what I want to do. But I want this deck. I'm going to probably just buy this deck in one cart and get it for 50 bucks. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to own. And then I'll have the expensive version too. And that would be pretty cool to own both of them. Because, I mean, I won on turn 5. So you really don't need... Or turn 6 if I took a gap turn or whatever. Turn 5, I think I won. Turn 6, maybe. And, yeah, we did super good. And got there. But alright, man, I appreciate you being here and all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video and all that jazz. Have a good night.